Let's see. So I'm a stand-in today, so it's a bit of an improvisation, this lecture, but let's see how it goes. My practice is here in The Hague. It's an architecture practice. And we in every project we try to deal very sensitively with the existing environment. And in order to formulate, let's say, meaningful answers and create a deep architecture, we try to work as holistically as possible on the projects we're making. This means we don't only design buildings, but we also, for example, design the landscapes with it. We make art installations. We build, we construct, we question, we research. We try to make it as wide as possible. And to paraphrase, for example, Alvaro Sisa, we're kind of specialists in non-specialization. In every project, or at least in most of the projects, the theme of the relationship between nature and culture, or building and landscape, and the softening of the boundaries between both is a central theme. For example, this is a transformation of a house in Amsterdam at which you enter through a garden room, and the garden room is never twice the same. Or in this project, in which we made a bronze water basin, and we actually made the mold out of the forest soil it sits on. So this means that the forest soil that's always changing suddenly is more or less fixed. And what we also found in this project, this is the first project where we didn't only make the object, but also actually constructed and built, planned the landscape, is that it's very interesting as an architect to work or to learn from being a gardener, to cultivate what works, take out what doesn't work, to be very careful, be very patient. And I also want to show you in the project I want to show you today how that applies to architecture. This is the project I want to show, one project. That's the project Nimeto, currently, or just finished actually. It's a school in Utrecht, a vocational school. They give arts like restoration, decoration, painting. It's beautiful crafts. And I was asked by the foundation Stichting Mevrouw Meijer to make a design proposal for the transformation of the school. The school wanted to grow and had plans to make a building that fitted better their new educational concept. And the school was in a post-war building, and what's still the normal modus, or is seen as the normal modus, when a school has renewal plans and is in a postmodern building, is to actually destroy that building and build a new building on the edge of the city. And this school, against that tendency, decided to not do that and actually stay in their original building, which means that a lot of energy, a lot of materials, but also softer things like memories or potential of spaces are kept, and also the diversity of the city is kept or even increased. Well, I made a study proposal, and in the end, it was also executed. This is the school. Let's see, can I point? Yeah. So we have two buildings and a street separating them. One of the starting points was actually to increase the size of the school. They wanted to somehow find more space for the students, for the growing student population. The other topic was to create a better connection between the two school buildings, because of the street never really felt as one school, which always was kind of a problem for the people that were in the right side of the, let's say, the right building on this picture. Those two things actually meant that quite a large transformation was needed, which was seen as a chance to improve also the other qualities of the building. The buildings were initially really good. On the top you see the building that was in the previous picture on the left, was built as a painting school, and on the bottom you see the building was on the right, that was built as a butcher school. And both really had an atmosphere that fitted craft school. You would enter there, you see this in the pictures, you also see it, or you hear it when you talk to the people that used to be taught there. It really felt immediately okay, maybe there's at least a craft given here. Maybe it's in the case of the painting school, you really felt, okay, this is a painting school. You smell it, you feel it. And if you now enter the school, this is very often not the case. It has become a very generic type of building often. Of course, there's exceptions, but I'm talking, it's like 90, maybe 90% of the buildings is like that. We first made a thorough analysis of the building. So, like I said, it started as a really good building. The materials were, let's say, very clear and sober, and also the building shape was very clear and sober. And in 1983, an addition was added, and it was based on continuity. This means it was really in line with the existing building. Then in 2002, something happened that happened in a lot of places around that time. This is the time of, let's say, vak context by Rem Koolhaas. Is that all the let's say real materials, the rough materials that fit at the craft school, disappeared behind a layer of 12.5 millimeters of gypsum, and everything became very clean, but also very office-like. So, for example, this is in 2002, the building on the right immediately became super generic. It could have been any school. It could have been your high school, probably. And in 2016, a later edition was added, but it didn't really solve the real issues that the building had at that point. But still, people in the school really liked the school. They liked the personality it got over the years, and they liked, let's say, the ownness. It felt really like their own. So here you see a little bit the situation before the transformation. On the left, you see the typical corridor, completely painted by teachers. And behind all those closed doors, there's beautiful crafts, like you see in the right. But very often those crafts were overshadowed by the enormous amount of ad hoc solutions and colors. So often people would paint a green object before a purple ball with some sort of papier-mâché thing flying around above their head. So we started actually the process of designing by reduction. We made an analysis through models in which we first wanted to see what happened if you would reduce the building to its most simple form. And we took this process of reduction as far as we could, and actually the reduction made the architecture in the end. And one of the main things we did, we found the new space needed for the amount of the growing number of students in the buildings themselves. By taking away space, we created space. So we actually we made 4 voids, like the one you see on the right. On the left, you see, let's say, the situation before the transformation, and on the right, the one after. And by creating those voids, the basements that were underneath the building were activated and could be used for education. So we didn't need to extend, but we found 1,500 square meters of extra education space. And also those spaces created places of recognition, of orientation. They spread atmosphere, created space and light, and brought it back to the building. So this is one of those voids after the transformation. And always every void has a boundary. We just heard some beautiful talks about Heidegger, who says that a boundary is not only something at which something stops, but also from which something begins. And these boundaries kind of accentuate the space within and make the space within different than the space outside of it, and therefore creating new possibilities. So this is in the basement. Suddenly, a lot of light and possibilities. This is right before the transformation, and this then, for example, the same space right after the transformation, where you can see the effect of taking out. Basically, what we did is taking out some floor fields. So in a way, yeah, we destroy, but actually it comes from cherishing. It comes from love, you could say. And also here we made very big openings into the facade. Of course, it used to be a butcher school. So, and actually, I think they didn't really want people to see what happened inside. So it was a really close building. And we opened that up towards the new square that we made it. This is one of the voids. And you see kind of the evolution that then takes place. It started off as a very sober building. Then it got clad in gypsum and colors. And we took away. Some spaces were just so good and still retained much of their original quality that we only renovated them. So it's always, in every position, we took a careful look in what to what extent do we cherish, let's say, to what extent do we transform. Here you see the new situation, and one of the bigger, actually the only real addition we made was a colonnade that was placed in front of the original facade. The original facade is over here, and we put a colonnade here. It goes over the street. Together with the new garden, it connects both buildings. So this is placed in front of the existing facade, and the existing facade is partly opened up. And at some points, the colonnade, by keeping the facade really open, the old facade, it becomes part of the colonnade. We made these furnitures ourselves, partly also together with the students of the school. Partly disappears, but okay. This is the new garden we made. So we also designed the garden with, actually the garden and the building is one composition. It used to be a parking lot. You see also the closeness of the facade. And with the one composition, I mean that we really picked every plant and we said, okay, this plant has to go there, this plant has to go there, to create a specific combination of colors and textures together with the new colonnade, together with the existing materials. So here, the architecture and the landscape, we really see it as one. There's this ever-changing landscape that is open to birds, to, let's say, non-human beings and human beings. And it's always different, while the building more or less remains the same, more or less, and we'll come back to that. So then the building is kind of done, you could say, but then it also just starts. This is a picture of Karel Appel in the 1950s in the Stedelijk Museum. And when he had an exhibition, he received a key from the director of the Stedelijk, and he could paint all walls. And this is now unthinkable in the Stedelijk Museum, I think. And this happened more often. And preservation is, on one hand, good, but it's also good not to turn the whole of the Netherlands or of Europe into a giant museum. And this is kind of also what happens somehow in some way with schools even, or with other pieces of architecture. We visited a lot of schools before at the start of the assignment. This is a building of a rather well-known architect, won a lot of awards, and then it was fixed after it was completed. They said, you cannot touch it, you cannot paint it, you cannot even exhibit in the hallways. The architect kind of tried to fix the position in which the project was done. And this is the same project a little bit further away, and there the lack of space urged the user to personalize the space, and actually it becomes more interesting. It becomes a kind of a bricolage, which is we find more inspiring. And we started thinking, can we not already apply that as a kind of gardener into the original plan, is that not part of the thing that you deliver to the school? So we started to look into the history of the school. This is the first building that we're in the center of Utrecht. And in this building, all the details that you see, the lamps, the lambrisering, the staircase, everything is made by students and by teachers of the school. And we thought, whoa, can we not go back to that? There's a lot of potential in these craft schools to actually make things. And we saw that the building they went afterwards, that's on the left, they painted every surface. And actually the first architect, Piet Dingemans, who made the building, this is on the right you see the building that we've been working on. He said, well, let's just accept that students have this urge to paint everything. And he designed his building on purpose as a blank canvas for the students. And he said, let's go, let's open it up. And this step to translate the old building to the new building, this intention, really got part of the culture of the school. And we really wanted to cherish that culture. We thought it was super nice, but also very scary, actually. And what I mean with scary is that this is what we saw when we entered in 2016, and it escalated. There was no, it got over the top. So what we tried to find is a new balance. We said there's some areas, that's the red areas on the left, those are the collective spaces, the spaces that everyone uses. Those are the areas that will, let's say, curate. And on the right are spaces that are completely free for users to personalize. And we created a commission called the Bouwmeesters in the school. It's kind of a welstands community, but also a beauty commission, but also a group of curators that are responsible for, on the one hand, cultivating new exhibitions, etc., but on the other hand, also keeping in check a little bit the collective spaces. And also we invited students already right from the start to paint the building, making it their own. So the students painted all of the building. We made furnitures with the students. We made little houses that they could paint together with the teachers. And even we made these rather nice easels with the plan, as a plan of one of the teachers. We made it with the students. It's out of MDF, but they look like old bronze. And the school started to become alive. You see the plans, let's say, coming together, and sometimes it's really scary. I must admit that once per 3 weeks or so, I have a dream that the whole school is ruined. But very often I'm very happily surprised. So I see very nice signs done by really good signing office. I see exhibitions. I see the first timpan on the building which we didn't design, but it's nice. And also outside, of course, the garden is growing and creating new possibilities and new life. I want to end with a little. Thomas, you're on this picture. You see yourself? Little movie. I hope the sound works. Let's see. Yeah. Oh.